Welcome to this deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at the study called Poverty Impedes Cognitive Function.
Catchy title.
Right. But I mean, it really gets at a question that I don't think a lot of people consider. Like, does being poor
Yeah.
actually make it harder to think clearly?
Yeah, it's a question with really huge implications. I mean, we often focus on, the lack of resources that people in poverty face.
Right.
But this study digs into the idea that poverty might actually create this kind of mental limitation too.
So not just less money, but literally less brain power.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I need you to come in and help me break this down. This study is a two-parter lab experiments and a field study, which I feel like is a really powerful combination.
It is. It is.
Mm.
And the researchers, Manny, Mulanathan, Shafir, and Zhao, they wanted to look at, if this effect would hold up in controlled settings.
Okay.
And then also in the messy real world.
Gotcha. So let's start in the lab then. They took shoppers at a New Jersey mall. It seems random.
It does seem random. Well, it was a way to get a diverse group of people.
Yeah, okay.
They presented these shoppers with different financial scenarios. Things like your car needs a $1,500 repair. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Some scenarios had small costs. Some had large costs
Oh.
that were much more stressful. And then they had everyone take some cognitive tests.
Okay, so far so good.
Yep.
But this is where things get wild.
This is where things get interesting, for sure. So the participants, when they were faced with those tougher scenarios,
Okay.
the poorer participants did much worse on these tests.
Oh, wow.
Compared to wealthier participants
Right.
whose scores were pretty much unaffected.
So just thinking about a big expense
Yeah.
messed with their ability to think.
Yeah, it seems like that.
That's intense.
And these weren't tests about financial savvy or anything like that.
Right.
One test was Raven's matrices,
Raven's matrices.
which measures your ability to solve problems and think logically, like that raw intelligence we all have.
Yep.
And the other test tested cognitive control, which is basically how well you can focus and make decisions under pressure.
So it's not that they were just stressed about money. It's like their fundamental thinking skills were taking a hit.
Yeah, seems like that.
And wasn't the size of the hit on their scores like pretty shocking too?
It was large, yeah.
Yeah.
It was equivalent to losing a whole night of sleep,
What?
or even a 13-point drop in IQ.
Oh my God.
So a very significant drop.
Mm.
Of course, they had to be sure that this wasn't just like math anxiety or general stress or even like getting distracted during the tests themselves.
Yeah. So they accounted for all of that. It wasn't just a fluke.
They designed the study very carefully to rule out these simpler explanations,
Okay.
and the results held up.
Wow.
So there's something deeper happening here, and they called this deeper thing attentional capture.
Attentional capture, that sounds kind of ominous.
It does sound kind of ominous.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. If you're constantly worried about bills, juggling expenses, making ends meet, it's like that worry is always grabbing your attention.
Right.
It's kind of like trying to focus when someone's blasting music next door.
Okay. Yeah, I can totally see how that would make it hard to think straight. But as convincing as these lab results are, I mean, real life is way messier, right?
Yeah, it is much messier. And that's where the field study comes in.
Okay.
And this field study, I think, is brilliant. They studied sugarcane farmers in India.
Okay.
And these farmers have this natural cycle of being in poverty before harvest, when money is tight,
Mm.
and then relative wealth after they harvest their crops and get paid.
So they're like their own control group.
Yeah, basically.
Because you're comparing them to themselves in these
Right.
different financial situations.
Exactly. And since different farmers harvest at different times of the year,
Right.
it also eliminates calendar effects. The results. Farmers scored way better on those cognitive tests. The problem-solving one, and also one called the numerical Stroop test after they got paid.
Well, wait, back up. What's the Stroop test?
Yeah. So the Stroop test, imagine the word R-E-D is written in blue ink.
Okay.
You have to say the color, not the word.
I think I've done that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds easy, but it takes mental effort
Yeah.
to override that automatic response
Yeah.
to read the word.
Yeah. It's trippy. So the farmers were literally thinking better after payday.
They were. And they controlled for everything. Physical exhaustion from the harvest, anxiety about their crop yields,
Right.
even the fact that they had taken the tests before. Plus, they made sure everyone was properly nourished.
Okay.
So the link between their income and better thinking held strong.
But hold on. What about the farmers who were still waiting to get paid after the harvest? Like, were they still mentally lagging?
That's the really interesting part. The farmers who felt the most financially stressed during that waiting period, They actually did score worse. So it wasn't just like the objective reality of their bank account,
Right.
but also how they perceive their situation.
Oh, so your mindset plays a role too.
It seems like it does.
That's something we can all relate to. I know, and I don't think as clearly when I'm stressed about money, even if it's not a dire situation.
Exactly. And it ties back to that idea of attentional capture. Even if we're not in true poverty, those financial worries can still hog our mental bandwidth,
Right.
making it harder to focus on other things.
Okay, so we've seen that poverty seems to make thinking harder, both in the lab and in the real world. But why? What's actually going on in our brains?
That is the million-dollar question. The researchers' leading theory is that poverty creates this constant mental burden
Okay.
of worry and trade-offs. So you're always thinking about where the next dollar is coming from, what you can and cannot afford, how to stretch every penny.
It's like your brain is running a marathon just to keep up with daily life.
Exactly. And all that mental energy that's spent on survival leaves less for other things, like learning new skills, planning for the future, making thoughtful decisions.
So poverty doesn't just limit your resources, it limits your capacity to even use those resources effectively.
Yeah.
It's like this vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle.
But can it just be about stress? There's got to be more to it.
You're right. While stress definitely plays a role, it's not the whole story.
Okay.
The study found that biological markers of stress
Yeah.
didn't fully explain those cognitive differences.
Interesting.
So there's something about the mental experience of poverty itself
Right.
that seems to impact how we think.
Wow. So poverty is like this invisible force that's shaping our minds without us even realizing it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And that's why this research is so groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It challenges us to think about poverty in a whole new light.
Right.
It's not just about material deprivation, it's about cognitive deprivation as well.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem,
Yes.
but now I need the good stuff.
Yes.
What can we actually do with this knowledge?
Oh, that's where it gets really interesting because this has huge implications for policy and how we approach helping people escape poverty.
Okay.
It's not just about giving people money.
It's about giving them the mental space to actually use that money effectively.
Exactly. And that's where this concept of cognitive taxes comes in.
Cognitive taxes. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to have to explain that one to me.
Think about all the things in life that require mental effort, filling out forms, understanding confusing rules, making tough decisions.
Yeah.
These are all cognitive taxes.
Okay.
And for people in poverty, these taxes are often much higher and more frequent.
So it's like they're constantly being bombarded with these mental hurdles, which just makes everything even harder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to apply for government assistance when you're already overwhelmed with worry about how to pay rent and feed your family.
Oh, yeah.
The application process itself
Right.
becomes another huge cognitive tax, making it even harder to access the help that you need.
It's like the system itself is working against them.
Yeah. In a way, it is.
So how do we fix this? What can we do to lighten that cognitive load, both for individuals and on a societal level?
That's what we'll dive into next.
Okay.
This research opens up a whole new world of possibilities for creating more effective and compassionate solutions to poverty.
Okay, I'm excited to hear about this.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I'm ready for those solutions because hearing about these cognitive taxes, it's making me think, are there things we're all paying without even realizing it?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. I mean, we tend to think of this as a poverty problem.
Right.
But the truth is, we all experience these cognitive burdens
Okay.
to some extent.
Yeah.
Think about those times when you're stressed out, sleep deprived,
Yeah.
juggling a million things at once.
Mm-hmm.
How sharp are your decisions then?
Oh, definitely not my best moments.
Mm.
Deadlines, errands, planning my friend's birthday party, it all piles up. I can feel my brain getting foggy.
Precisely. And while those situations are temporary for most of us,
Yeah.
imagine facing that level of mental strain day in and day out. That constant pressure can make it incredibly difficult
Yeah.
to break free from that cycle of poverty.
So it's like we get a little taste of that cognitive burden
Yeah.
during our own high-stress times. But for some people, it's like a chronic condition.
It is.
It really makes you realize how much we take our mental bandwidth for granted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It highlights the importance of considering the whole person,
Yeah.
not just their financial situation.
Mm.
Poverty isn't just about lacking resources.
Mm-hmm.
It's about lacking the mental capacity to fully utilize those resources.
Yeah.
It's like trying to win a race with a weight tied to your ankle.
And that weight is all those worries and decisions
Yeah.
that are constantly dragging them down. But it's not just about making bad financial choices, right?
Right.
This
Yeah.
could affect every aspect of their lives.
Exactly. It can impact their health, their
Mm.
relationships, work performance, virtually every decision they make.
Mm.
This research challenges us to rethink our assumptions about poverty
Okay.
instead of blaming people for their circumstances.
Um,
We need to understand how those circumstances are actually shaping their minds.
So it's not about individual failings, but about a system that's creating this cognitive burden.
I think that's a good way to put it.
It really shifts the perspective from what's wrong with them
Hmm.
to what can we do to change the system.
Yeah, exactly. And this research has the potential to spark real social change.
Okay.
It's about creating a more supportive environment where everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their financial situation.
That sounds amazing. But where do we even begin? What are some concrete steps that we can take to lighten that cognitive load?
Well, there's a lot we can do both as individuals and as a society.
Mm.
The first step, I think, is awareness. We need to recognize the cognitive taxes we might be imposing on others, especially those who are already struggling.
So, like trying to avoid overwhelming people with too much information or
Yeah.
making things unnecessarily complicated.
Exactly. If you're in a position of power, think about how you can simplify processes, provide clear instructions, and offer support to those who need it. It could be as simple as helping someone fill out a form
Right.
or advocating for more user-friendly designs in government services.
Little things can make a big difference.
It can.
It's about being more understanding and recognizing that someone's behavior might be influenced by factors beyond their control.
Absolutely. And on a larger scale, this research has huge implications for policy. It suggests that simply providing financial assistance might not be enough. We also need to address those cognitive barriers that prevent people from effectively using those resources.
So it's about making sure those support systems are actually accessible and user-friendly,
Yeah,
not just in theory, but in practice.
right.
How can we design programs with these cognitive limitations in mind?
There are a lot of exciting possibilities. We can simplify application processes,
Okay.
provide clear and concise information,
Mm-hmm.
offer flexible scheduling, and provide personalized support to
Yeah.
navigate complex systems. It's about making these programs more human-centered and less bureaucratic.
It seems like empathy and common sense are key here.
I think so.
We need to meet people where they are
Mhm.
and provide the support they need to succeed.
Exactly. We need to move away from this idea that people are making bad choices and recognize that their decisions are often heavily influenced by the cognitive constraints they face. Instead of punishing people for those choices, we need to create systems that help them make better ones.
So what kinds of systems are we talking about?
Well, one powerful tool is financial education and coaching.
Okay.
This can help people develop better money management skills,
Right.
reduce financial anxiety, and ultimately free up their mental bandwidth for other things.
It's like giving them the tools and the support they need to build a more stable foundation.
Yeah.
So they're not constantly worrying about their finances. But wouldn't that require a pretty big shift in how we think about poverty and assistance?
It does.
Yeah.
But this research provides the evidence we need to make that shift.
Okay.
It shows that poverty is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences.
Mhm.
Addressing the cognitive dimension of poverty isn't just about being nice. It's about being smart.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating a more efficient and equitable society for everyone.
It makes you wonder, are there things we're doing in other areas, education, healthcare, even criminal justice, that could be unintentionally creating these cognitive burdens?
That's a great question, and it's something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
This research has the potential to transform not just our approach to poverty, but our understanding of human behavior in general.
It's really eye-opening to see how something as seemingly simple as financial stress can have such a profound impact on our minds. What other insights can we take away from this?
One of the most powerful takeaways is that we all have a finite amount of mental energy,
Yeah.
and how we choose to use that energy matters.
So this isn't just about helping those in poverty, it's about helping everyone make the most of their mental resources.
It is.
What can we do on a personal level to lighten our own cognitive load?
That's a fantastic question, and it's something we can all benefit from exploring.
Yeah, it feels like we've uncovered this whole hidden world of mental burdens. You know,
Yeah.
these things that are draining our thinking power without us even realizing it.
It is a hidden world.
It makes you wonder, what are some everyday cognitive taxes we might be paying?
I think it's all around us.
Yeah.
Think about just the constant barrage of information. We get notifications,
Mm.
news feeds, emails piling up.
Yeah.
That feeling of like always needing to catch up,
Right.
be in the know, make a
Yeah.
decision on something.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Oh, tell me about it. I feel like I'm constantly switching between tasks and checking my phone and trying to juggle a million things at once.
Yeah,
No wonder my brain feels fried by the end of the day.
I know, me too. And that mental fatigue, it impacts everything, our focus, our creativity, our relationships, even our physical health.
Right.
So while we might not be facing, the extreme cognitive strain of poverty,
Yeah.
we all pay these taxes in our own way.
So what's the antidote? How do we reclaim some of that mental bandwidth and declutter our minds?
Well, I think the first step is awareness.
Yeah.
Just start noticing what drains your energy.
Yeah.
Is it social media? Is it the news cycle? Is it too many commitments?
Yeah.
Once you know what your culprits are, you can start setting boundaries.
So like actually turning off notifications or having some tech-free time?
Yeah.
Or just learning to say no more often?
Exactly. It's about being intentional with your time and energy.
Yep.
Prioritizing rest, recharging, focusing on what truly matters.
Right.
It's not selfish, it's self-preservation.
Yeah, it sounds like self-care is a key part of this whole cognitive equation, getting enough sleep, eating well, moving our bodies, that all helps, right?
Huge factors.
Mm.
And don't underestimate the power of mindfulness.
Yeah.
Just being present in the moment, quieting that mental chatter. It's like giving your brain a mini vacation.
So it's not just about changing what's outside us, but also how we manage what's going on inside?
Exactly. And this brings us back to the heart of this research.
Okay.
Our mental capacity is precious, and it's influenced by so much: our finances, our stress levels, and even the choices we make and how we live.
Yeah. So it's not just a poverty problem, it's a human problem. We all have to be smarter about how we use our brain power. It's like a muscle. We got to train it and rest it and not overload it.
Perfect analogy.
Right.
And the more we understand how things like poverty can impact cognitive function, the better equipped we are to support those who are struggling and make smarter choices for ourselves.
This deep dive has been eye-opening, to say the least. I'm already thinking about my own cognitive taxes and how I can lighten that load. And it makes me want to be more aware of how I might be even unintentionally adding to that burden for others.
Yeah, the journey of awareness and action.
Right.
And I'm glad we could take it together.
Me too.
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference in how we think, feel, and ultimately how we live.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and, dare we say, mind-expanding. Until next time, take care of those brilliant brains of yours.